We're very pleased today to partner on this conversation with our longtime Speaking of Dance partners, DanceHouse, and of course with Matriarchs Uprising presenting today. I've known some of the contributors and speakers for a long time, and it's so wonderful to see their work and their voices grow. It is always an honor to be here and to listen. It is now my pleasure to introduce the moderator for today, Olivia Davies. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Janice, and thank you again to DanceHouse and to SFU for the opportunity to bring Matriarchs Uprising Festival artists into this circle conversation to share with all of you, our witnesses here today. O.Dela Arts has been hosting Matriarchs Uprising Festival since 2019 on the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I'm zooming in today from a little Airbnb here just off Commercial Drive. Our artists have generously offered their time in sharing as a part of this festival what will be this circle conversation. I'm going to introduce each one of them with a clip of work that they've provided to share. And then we'll get into our conversation. So I do ask witnesses as you're listening, if you have questions or comments, feel free, of course, to pop those into the chat, but we will try to leave a couple minutes towards the end of the hour to have a broader circle conversation with everybody. So the first guest I'd like to introduce is a longtime friend, Jeanette Kodowicz, whose work Kwe will be shared live in performance at the Dance Center on Friday and Saturday night. And Jeanette has shared with us a video clip that I'm going to offer now as a part of her introduction. Excuse me as I work through my technical finessing here. Here we go.
I have it queued up too, if you want me to do it. You're good.
Sent to deliver a message.
Galactic Color! Kita ko nag...
Thank you. I'm going to move right along to share the next person's clip. And then once we've shared all four of these short intros, then we're going to get into conversation. The next person's video that I'd like to share is from Christine Friday, who's also joining us in this circle, Firewater Thunderbird Rising, which will also be shared as a part of the festival on-demand video.
Olivia, there was just a gray bar at the top of the image. So just maybe want to watch that it's not happening for Christine's.
Thank you.
are the cure through heart-beating, unbroken blood memory, ceremony, original sound of creation. Mother Earth holds our stories. Red ochre left by our ancestors, Thunderbird medicine, star medicine, traveling medicine. Our mother binds together 7 grandfathers, 7 fires to one voice, one truth, one land, one land, one land.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. The next piece I'm going to share is an introduction to Maura Garcia, whose work will also be presented as a part of our live performances on Friday and Saturday evening at the Dance Center. This work is titled Ancestor Dances.
Poor thing. Oh, poor thing.
Thank you, Maura. And finally, I'd like to share the work of Sophie Dow, whose Mountain Duets, a dance film, was created towards the end of last year. And we'll be sharing a short clip of this now. Sophie's work will also be shared in the festival, Parasol X, as a part of our on-demand videos available through the week.
Pace the self, chase the self, break a couple bones. 1,000-year-old languages to make you feel alone. Whether it's cloudy or rainy or foggy or dark, they will come to eat you from the outside in. The scars, the flux, a needle or pin, because there's something about the struggle. The scrapes, the cuts, the blood and guts, and today I do not understand. The after comes before the next. The clear cut does not come in gray. The mist is rolling in, and yet the mountain just sits. Brace yourself, erase yourself, displace yourself again. Place a body in a box, let organs choose a name. The flies are in flux, coming and going in waves. It's so easy to fall wingless, where this time there is a ground. Oh, sacred ones, much has fallen. The anthills have become mountains. The flies are no longer free. The notion of home has gone missing long ago. And I
So it's such an honor and a pleasure to share these works, but more importantly, to be in circle and sharing with each of you in conversation. Who are you? Where do you come from? And how are you today? And I'll open that up to each and every one of you. I'm going to bring you into the spotlight so you can share this space with me. Jeanette, do you want to tell us?
Sure. I'm doing well today. It's Monday at noon, here where I am on SMT territory. My name is Jeanette Kodowicz. I reside here in so-called Vancouver, but I come from Treaty 4 territory in Saskatchewan, where my family still lives, but where my ancestors called home and where I still call home. So yeah, and I am an independent artist, creator, choreographer, director. I'm Nehiao and Métis and German, Polish, Scottish. So I've got lots of different textiles in my heritage. And yeah, I'm happy to be here today and see my colleagues' works and share in a circle conversation today, all my relations at home.
I'll go next. It's great to be here. Thank you so much, Olivia, for the invitation to be a part of the circle. And I'm coming to you from my homeland and territory of Anishinaabe Algonquin in the Thunderbird Shield, which is a northwestern side of Ontario. And the watershed stems down from here. So with connecting lakes, I live on an island where my community is, but my family's traditional tribal territory, which I always like to acknowledge, is Bridie's Point on Lake Temagami here. So although our reserve is on an island in a small community, our community is made up of families in our territories. And it's our Nadaki Minen, which is our homeland. And so the watershed stems down from here, lots of rock face and lots of different kinds of trees. There's an old growth forest here. And it's been a long journey for me to move home, and it's been my whole life journey. And so my husband and I built our house back home 2 years ago now. So I feel like I'm able to immerse myself in my lands and my territory and be able to now fulfill my potential. I really don't think I've given myself that opportunity until recently. So lots of different gifts and challenges reveal themselves. So thank you so much it's always amazing to have, to be connected with artists and to, because I sometimes feel in our communities, we are the ones who are doing the empowering with people. So it's nice to kind of get a surge and to be with all of you today. So miigwech.
Can hop in. Just echoing the gratitude to be here and such a powerful group of people that I've followed for so long, so inspired by. I'm just feeling very, very warm, very grounded, and very excited for a Monday to start like this. So Tanse, I'm Sophie. I am presently in so-called Vancouver, but I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Treaty 1 territory, where my ancestors lived and traveled through. I'm part Métis Assiniboine, as well as French, Ukrainian, and German. And I spent about 7 years in Takaranto as well, where I just relocated here from. So I do acknowledge those territories as well, as they had such an impact on my journey as a creative person, as a dancer and musician and choreographer, and my healing practices as well. I practice traditional Thai massage and cranial sacral therapy, and just recently kind of started training in breath work. And all of those tie into the combination of this reclamation journey that I'm on to learn about my ancestral roots through my dance practice and my dance offerings to anyone that I get the honor of working with.
Nui dai da wado anigi lohi digi yawi chichalagi no le chi mara meskina hi ano se ha yone I ustigati chigi duwagi galshkishki no le do you galieli ga ahni chi do kohig do you galieli ga ni god EJ do ha kohig. My name is Maura Garcia. I am a dancer, choreographer, and erotic artist. I am Cherokee and Mattamuskeet from Cherokee homelands are in the southeastern Appalachian Mountains, and Mattamuskeet homelands in the eastern part of what is called North Carolina now. I'm just grateful to be here. I have been traveling a lot and just kind of landed. So I won't say much other than I'm so happy to see everybody's faces. It makes me feel like coming home to another home. So thank you for having me here, and Hiani God, Jiskwata.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here too. It was a bit of a stop and go kind of morning, but in the end, everything works the way it's supposed to. And I know Spirit is guiding how all of this is supposed to happen. A little bit about myself. I am a dance artist and a choreographer, as well as being the person currently holding what is Matriarchs Uprising Festival. I've come back to Vancouver after being back in my home territory of the Ottawa Valley, where I've been for the last year and a half, raising a beautiful baby girl who's now walking and talking and being really cute. And she's here with me in Vancouver too. Anishinaabe Kwe with Welsh, French, Canadian, and Finnish roots also, and really working through what it means to be a mixed race woman in a capacity as a dance artist, but not only that, in working with communities and collaborating across disciplines too. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you for answering my first question. I'm going to bring it back to like the title of this circle and what I was thinking about and how we were gathering today. And that was, what does care look like in your creative practice? And why is it important to you now?
Was there an order to this? No, okay. I was like, did I not get that memo? Because I didn't want to speak out of turn. I've been missing lots of them, so I wasn't sure. But I unexpectedly ended up teaching a class this morning, and there were people of various abilities in the class. And I got there, and I wasn't supposed to teach class, so it was a surprise. And I thought, okay, I want everyone to feel comfortable. I want everyone to feel included. All of our teachings talk about Nigada, everybody. And I guess, so to me, care is making sure that I'm listening to as much as I can and watching as much as I can, so that everybody feels included in the circle and they feel like they should be there. And I asked, I had rolling on the floor. is one of the things that we were doing to warm up. And I said, you know, if you don't want to roll on the floor, I can give you modifications, you know. And one person who, you know, she has 2 arms and 2 legs and walks, but she said, I've been doing a lot of floor work last week. My knees hurt. Can I not roll on the floor? And I said, thank you for saying that, because, you know, I could get lazy and simply just bring everything I do and put it on everyone and say, this is what we're going to do. But because she also made it known, then I was able to take the exercise from rolling on the floor to moving. I said, well, let's move effortlessly. I said, forget about, you know, if you want to roll on the floor, then you can do that on the floor. If you need to be doing it rolling or walking or mid-level, I said, that's fine, but just effortless, whatever that means to you. And so halfway through the class, there were other people that chose not to be on the floor for whatever reason. They might have also had something that they didn't want to talk about, you know. And so this opening up the circle allows for multiple people to be cared for. And there's things that people won't say that they may be dealing with, but when you're opening it up, that allows for care to be for everyone. So I hope that makes sense, but that was something that just happened this morning, and I was actually grateful. Because you know, supposedly I was the teacher, but I'm also relearning. So yeah.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. It's really, really awesome to hear. When I guess I'll just speak to what's true for me right now around care and my practice and my work. The work that I'll be sharing on Friday and Saturday is an ensemble work, and it's sort of starting about 6 months ago is the first time I've ever done ensemble work in my independent practice. So yeah, it's been a lot of learning about what values are important to me, about how I do want to have care around all aspects of my work, including how I engage with presenters, programmers, how I email, how I receive, you know, I don't know, different information, how I'm sharing that information, and then caring for the practice itself, you know, how to come to the studio as I am, but also with, you know, honoring where I'm at, but also caring for the space itself, caring for the protocols of how things begin, caring for the artists that I'm working with, and then ultimately, all of those things are to prepare to offer what we'll be offering. And so all that work that's done around the care and the values is to be able to, you know, have the purest sort of connection for how we can translate that to those who will be coming to witness, or even how the work impacts people who don't come to witness too, if you're able to see some things that are on social media, or just, you know, our togetherness, just that Matriarchs Festival is happening. There's just so many layers of how the interfacing happens in community. And so that's what I'm thinking about for care today. And I guess some of the values that I started working with on this specific project that I'm going to be sharing is around compassion, kindness, bravery, and joy. And so all of those things, all of those values and intentions, I also want to be caring for myself. And that one is more tricky than the other ones. It's a lot easier to, like, as Maura was saying, like, to observe spaces and think, okay, this is what the space needs. This is what these people need. This is what I can offer. But, you know, it's really important that we're also maintaining personal wellness, because that's how will be most available to the work. Like when I'm working with the artists that I've been working with, like I want to be a well human being, a well person in my spirit, so that I can be giving my best self to the work. And that doesn't always happen. There's ups and downs. There's, mental health challenges that are always, we're always riding the waves, especially, in the collective of where we are right now and where we're coming from. So yeah, so that's what I'd like to offer for today, all my relations.
Can I hop in? A recent, I guess it's been about 2.5 years now, but a recent experiment that I was doing with some of the dancers that I work with. We call it no stress art making. And it's very similar to what Jeanette's talking about. It's really just receiving the people you're working with as they are. So sometimes somebody would be 30 minutes late for rehearsal. This was in Toronto at the time, so the TTC would shut down or whatever was happened. And the first week, I remember that kind of sparked it. Somebody came in and they were late, and they're saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm late. Like, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm freaking out." And I just came and gave them a hug, and that hug was the initial spark for this curiosity, and kind of this ongoing practice. So we ended up setting, I guess, a group collective agreement, that the goal of it was to kind of dissolve the shame and the guilt that comes along with all the pressures that have been put on us in studio life before. I have kind of a fairly intensive background in the ballet world and the competitive dance world, where if you're not early, you're late, or you're kicked out of class, or you're not going into the exam, or whatever is going on. So I spent about a year really trying to dissolve those boundaries. And then the lockdowns happened, of course. And so we really, in dissolving those boundaries and allowing everybody to arrive in whatever state they're in, we really started to build kind of this community. So even throughout the lockdowns, we started doing community check-ins once a week, and just talked about where we were at. Sometimes we laughed, sometimes we cried. Most of the time we held each other. And even if that meant, and even still means, because I'm still working on this actively today as a solo practitioner, even if that means you only get 30 minutes out of the 2 hours for creation, those 30 minutes are so much richer and so much more full of care. And the work itself feels more honest when that level of care is approached with it. Yeah, that's where I'm in the middle of shifting. So I'm kind of on the opposite end from Jeanette. I worked with a lot of people for a long time, and now I'm really transitioning into a lot of solo work and solo performances. And the piece I'm presenting at Matriarchs is my first kind of big solo. And so I'm really looking at how that is for myself, and even allowing myself to have more than 8 hours of sleep a night is my current care practice. And training in Wim Hof breathing every single day.
Wonderful. My self-care is basics is water and fire. Drinking water always seems to, as I like watching Jeanette drinking her water. It's like, yes, where's my water? Yeah, and I was looking, I'm like, I thought she had a different bottle, and then she has these two bottles happening. Okay. But fire is another big part. We actually just got our wood stove in, and so my husband installed it, and so to be able to, I mean, I can have a fire outside anytime I like, which I'm very grateful for, but just being by the warmth and taking the break from, grabbing your tea or just kind of working under no pressures of other people, what needs to happen, but, you know, giving yourself those moments of, you know, what's meaningful. So self-care is about meaningful action, and taking that time. I do a yoga practice for myself, and these, like, I used to go to a studio and train, and it was very easy for me to fall into that, where I could almost do it with my eyes closed and go through the motions, and I really enjoyed that. But I've had to be very self-disciplined in the past couple of years because of these transitioning times, like you're saying, that we collectively all share together. So I'm using your words. But the discipline in that, and just working away at that bit by bit. So, but it's very important for me to learn to calm my own nervous system, to discipline. I mean, I'm a artistic artist that is, like, discipline is engraved in my body. So something I crave a lot is that physical activity. And then, but self-care for me recently has been about recognizing when people throw their jobs at me or their work. I'm like, wait a minute, is that my job? I don't know if that's my job. So, and also asking for what I feel I deserve at this point in my life, and this exchange happening. I'll do this. I'll make this dream happen for you, but this is what, you know, I guess it's an exchange of and requests and asking. And then the bigger thing for me, though, is using the land and the trees to carry what I can't carry anymore with my being. So I'll go to a tree and just put my hands on the tree and just ask to take the weight of what I can't carry. And I even use my dog for that. So, and I don't have this, like, cute little, I'd be like an outdoor, like, husky dog that's lived outside his whole life, and it may seem cruel, but he's got a really, really thick fur coat, and so he's like my helper too. Like, he's stinky and he's big and he's like a brute, but I find comfort in him. Like, he's like there's something about protection of spirit that he offers. So yeah, I guess I resource what's around me too. So yeah, the land, the family, fire, water, and yeah, the territory.
So rich. I think, yeah, each of you have shared something that has, like, lifted my heart today too, and reminders of what care looks like, and how it impacts what we do beyond the creative sphere, but just in our daily lives. And I guess, so now, sort of bringing that into the thread of what it is you're sharing in this year's Matriarchs Uprising Festival, for our witnesses, maybe if you're attending, if you're going to witness the work that's available on demand, is there an example of care that you notice is is connected to an ancestral teaching that has sparked where you've decided to share this work? So I guess around, like, the intention of why this work and why now, and do you have a sense of that coming from beyond yourself, or from a teaching that's sort of engraved in your heart?
I can speak because mine's pretty consistent. Yeah, so what I already shared, the values of compassion, kindness, so I interchange it with love, bravery or courage, and joy. Those are coming from a teaching of that there's 44 of them, Cree creators laws that I've been shared with by an elder. And so though the reason why those became so strong as how I've been intentionally putting those values into the work that I'll be sharing, but also my research practice in general. It's been actually a year now that I'm thinking about it. It's been since last February, this time of year. So I guess we were about a year into the pandy, and I was going through a lot of personal challenges in my life, and I just needed something to hold on to and something to have hope towards. And I was really holding on to those four values, the first four values, and wanting to spend, because there's 44 of them, like not trying to have all of them all at once, but really I'd probably invested almost like a year and a half now just working with those ones. And I'll probably continue to work a little bit longer. And then just trying to bring it back to the self always. And in particular with Quay, the work that I'll be sharing, I sort of have been narrowing in on the bravery and the courage piece in the four of the intentions. So that's sort of my hope, I guess, where I want to go, where I see myself, how I think my work can even change myself, not even, it is an offering to other people as well, but how those intentions are now changing me and my relationships and my relationship to self, my relationship to my practice. So yeah, so that's where my work is coming from right now. Thank you.
In the piece that I'm sharing at the festival, Parasol Chapter X, it is quite a long journey piece where it's very character based, and this character that I'm playing, we call her character Q. They travel through a medicine wheel of sorts, and so it's really inspired by teachings from Elder Shirley Horn and Elder Linda Rose in Treaty 13 territory. It's a journey for this character to kind of reconcile with a series of past lives that they've had. And so the character has a dream, and in the dream, creator tells them that this is going to be their culminating lifetime, but they must reconcile with everything, all the missteps that they've had in all of their lifetimes, not just the most recent one. So this character journeys through all these things, but finds these objects that are representative of either some of the positives or the negatives in their lives. And essentially they have an opportunity to either carry them with them or release them and offer them up to the center and to the sky and to the smoke. And I guess a lot of it comes from a curiosity of what am I offering up right now? What are my attachments, and what in general as a society are we attached to? What as a country are we attached to? There's a few fairly blatant images in the piece that I have this ongoing push and pull relationship with, but since it's a film, they're there now. But it's what Olivia said earlier too, it's everything happens for a reason and everything kind of manifests as a reason. And I think as the country shifts and as we transition and as we learn more, it's kind of an opportunity to either really dive in or to really let go of what colonial inklings have been pushed on us. And it's really an opportunity to grow and to work and call in the light now. So that's kind of the teachings that I'm presently breathing with.
I'll go next. So this piece, Fire, Water, Thunderbird Rising, came from I've actually been working on this piece about 10 years, trying to, application after application, trying to get funding to create a dance piece. Finally, I kind of gave up and said, to heck with these arts councils and juries. I'm not going to wait for your approval to create work. I'm just going to create this myself. So that was a big transition in this. But then it became, the opportunity happened to create a dance film. So that's how it came to life. I always begin my work with an offering of the journey that I go on, and I don't always know what's going to happen, but I trust in the guided experience of what is supposed to happen. So with the dance film, I was able to be really spontaneous because I have 3 boys and my middle son filmed for me. So I'd be like, oh, look at it outside. Like, you know, we'd run in the moment and film. I'd have this idea would come to me. And that's also how my stuff, almost like in film imagery, like my choreography comes to me. So anyway, I was able to fulfill the visions in the moment when I felt the impulse of them happening. But there's also another big piece of this that I did. I have a monologue in this work. It's a 30-minute solo, and the monologue I picked up when we were traveling 2 summers ago with a youth group that I work with. And it was to Maple Mountain. So it's like a sacred place for our people. It's where the spirits of our ancestors, how they arrive on Earth and how they leave the Earth. So we're on this canoe trip, and I was canoeing around. We're fishing at all these beaver houses because that's a good place to fish. I was with my husband and my youngest son, and I got the story. Like I just received the story about Beatrice and how she's she's a big beaver house, like that's her name, Beatrice, a big beaver house. And this whole story came to me, this monologue. And at the end of the week, we were doing a comedy act. And so I put this monologue together about this story and about this character. And so it was about, she's a birch tree who was always afraid of her own power. And she used to look at all the other trees drinking sap and having fun. So it was that, it was a parallel of alcohol, or she wanted to be just like those other trees and drink sap too, but she had to come back to who she was. And she realized that she's a birch tree. She's about healing and about medicine. So that's where she made an offering. She offered herself to the beaver, and the beaver transformed her, nibbling her branches and transformed her into what she is today. And she's Beatrice, a big beaver house. So anyway, this story is it's a monologue. And I first I was telling some friends of mine who were helping me, my artistic friends, and they're like, I don't know, Christine, I don't know if you should do a monologue, but to me, that was be able to show my my humor of who I am, because it's actually a big part of my character, Christine, who I am. And so I'm really glad to put that in. I was very, I performed the piece in Toronto in December at Citadel, and it was very exciting, and I was nervous to do the monologue, but it was really, that's when I know I'm supposed to do something, when I get those nerves or that excitement. And so it's Fire, Water, Thunderbird Rising. It's about definitely about struggles I had of alcohol in my life. And I've been on they call it the red road, the red road, or a good path. For me, it's been 13 years now of that journey, but it was definitely a pattern I needed to break in my family. And it doesn't go that deep, but it still was something that, it's like, this is me, this is part of my story. So the teaching was, I think what I shared before was about not the arc of the story is that the land and is there to take what we can't carry. So that was the big teaching for me. Great.
Nigada, do you will do. It was all beautiful listening. I kind of almost forgot what I was about to say. I was listening to all of y'all. But the piece that I'm sharing is Ancestor Dances. So it's a kind of a literal answer to your question, Olivia, but I started creating the piece. There's a piece I have called Si Aniwoni, or They're Still Talking, which actually I shared at Matriarchs Uprising, I want to say in 2019, right? And that piece is about it's really about ancient ancestors, you know, about the ancestors, the, you know, 5,000 ancestors, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, the first human beings, those types of ancestors. But I started to think about, well, what about like my grandma that just passed away, or some of the elders in my family that when I was little, I knew, and they taught me so much, but aren't here anymore. You know, some of their teachings are the same teachings, but they also have their individual stories and experiences and gestures and all types of things that are important to me, and that I want to honor, and I want to remember, and I want to pass on. And so I started creating a dance that was based on a person. So this is the dance of Grandma Gray. This is the dance of Dolju Wajagesa. This is the dance of, and the dance would come from either teachings that they would say over and over, because, you know, sometimes there's people, they'll tell a story and you're like, you know, like you've heard the story over and over. And so those stories or movements that they were always doing, or things that they were always doing that taught me so much. And so I made a dance for each person. And so that's Ancestor Dances, is a collection of these dances for my recent ancestors, and their teachings and their beloved things, so that I can see them once again, but so also that those teachings and those loved things can be shared out with the world, so that they will become bigger. So that's my answer to your question.
Thanks, each and every one of you. I really appreciate hearing, and yeah, just gaining even more perspective around what these offerings are, and how they impact you, let alone how they are being shared for witnesses to appreciate too. We've got just 4 minutes left on the clock, and I really have to be hard on time because these are hardworking artists who all have other things they have to do right after this. But we can open up the circle to our witnesses. If you'd like to share any thoughts you might have, you can just unmute yourself and join us in the circle. We'd love to hear from you. So beautiful to see your faces. Thank you.
Okay, there's a question. I was just going to say I really appreciated what Sophie had to say and Jeanette had to say about being in the room and the care there, and how, and just that care I feel is so important right now particularly, but I think it's something that we can model because of the values that are intrinsic in our cultures. And I really appreciated all of your talking about that your work is not just about work, it's about your life. And so I think that's really beautiful.
Thank you, Tasha.
There was a question for you, Christine. Can you speak?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw, like, I had to put my glasses on. So or else it gets old. Yeah, the red ochre. So my friend Debbie, whose voice you heard, that's her. She does poetry with me, and like she's like a sister I've had for, but not my real sister, for like I've known her since I was, 20 years old, so really, really long time. And so you want me to explain red ochre? It's her poetry and her words, but it's to me it's a medicine picked up, like reclaiming of our ways of living and knowing and understanding, and picking up medicine, empowering our Anishinaabe way of living and being. And so that's what that means. That's her voice that you heard in in the segment that I showed, but her poetry is in the work that I'm doing in this piece. So, and I've added, because we did I did 6 dance films this year, which I didn't even realize it till I added them up, but there's some segments and excerpts. So yeah, that's to me, it's picking up what our ancestors have left for us and moving forward with that. That's a simple way. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you all so very much for joining together in this circle. And DanceHouse and SFU Woodwards, thank you so much for partnering with Matriarchs Uprising and sharing and being able to host this circle. I know that it will live online for another 30 days. So if you had friends or colleagues, family who wanted to witness the circle and couldn't, please invite them to the DanceHouse webpage, where, speaking of dance, Talking Truths will be up. We have a wonderful program, like I've mentioned before, it's in the chat, but oliviacdavies.ca/Matriarchs Uprising. Come check it out. There's so much to experience. We do have another circle conversation coming up Wednesday evening with other artists who are part of the festival. There are in-person workshops and master classes. Christine Friday's hosting an online workshop tomorrow, Dance and Film, Film to Dance, open to everyone and anyone. So do come check that out. Let your friends know if you're interested. All of those registration details can be found on our website. That'll direct you through to an Eventbrite page. So once again, my gratitude and thanks to everyone who's joined us here today, and we look forward to seeing you. If you'd like to continue chatting with artists, again, you can connect to them through social media or their own websites, but we are going to close the circle for today. So thank you. Dziękuję.